The extortion epidemic in South Africa has reached a boiling point. Ruthless gangs operate with impunity, draining the lifeblood from towns and crippling local economies for their own gain. Since the 2020 COVID-19 lockdowns, extortion has spread like wildfire across the nation, with criminal networks supported by corrupt police officers and politicians, shielding them from justice. Once confined to nightclubs, restaurants, and the underworld scene, extortion has now touched every corner of society. No one is safe, whether you're a small hawker forced to pay 50 rands a week or a major business threatened with demands of 200k a month. The stakes are terrifyingly high and the consequences of refusal are deadly. Across the provinces of Gauteng, KZN, Eastern Cape and Western Cape, extortion crimes top the list of reported incidents. In KZN, the construction mafia has a tight grip on the industry, while in the Western Cape, gangs have their tentacles in every lucrative market, crossing over into the legitimate world. And now, the Eastern Cape is emerging as a new battlefield. In towns like Mthatha, businesses are shutting down under the crushing weight of extortion. You see, in Mthatha, gangs were targeting only foreign nationals at some point, Somalis, Bangladeshis and other African migrants. But these days, these criminals have now turned on local residents, leaving a trail of fear and devastation in their wake. Now this is the reality of South Africa's extortion crisis, a nation under siege from within. Recently, news broke about the death of the self-proclaimed chief of Mthatha West, Sakumzi Mareke. Alongside his gang of henchmen, Mareke attempted to intimidate police officers but was met with deadly force, gunned down and wiped out inside a police compound. Mareke and his crew had been terrorizing Mthatha West. Now their reign of fear was fueled by some community members who protected him, likely because they were benefiting from his criminal empire. Now Mareke's father was supposedly closely connected to the local leadership. Now King Dalingebo himself confirmed knowing Mareke's father. Now some claimed that his father served as a local headman, a position of minor authority chosen by the chief, tasked with handling village matters. However, it holds no true royal significance, but this is not a confirmed fact. Now from what I've gathered, the real chief of the area is a woman named Noma Itali. Now some suggest that she may have allowed Mareke to share power, whether willingly or under pressure remains unclear. But one thing is certain, Mareke's role as chief seemed less about tradition and more about using his gangs to extort money from the community with brute force and fear as his weapons. Mareke confessed that in his younger years, he was notorious for committing crimes, which is why people suspected him of being the mastermind behind the current criminal activities. His history of troublemaking had tainted his reputation, but he claimed he had changed. Now Mareke insisted that he did not anoint himself as king, rather he was supposedly anointed by the will of the people. Now in reality, he was never recognized by any traditional institution or organization as an official chief. He was merely a common man whose arrogance and ego spiraled out of control, leading him to believe his own hype.
Xa ukhula umntwana ukhula ube khona izinto ozenzayo nawe ezobustuti ekhuleni wazi njengomuntu ukhule umosha ne so angeke ukwazi uleqa abanye abantu ungana history bane past yam ngumdala zona andizuyifihla leyo ne kwabeke nakhona kwindlela errong yobugebengu ne ngoke ngumzekelo ndayeka ndathi mangiyeke lokushine ehlaleni ungamoshwa ne lo mntana lo mntu akasibekanga dana bene ngobekwe komama abafana namlo Mthatha ke izizathu zokuba abekwe ezinkosi sizomcela samcela mntanami akakangatsho ame endleleni athi ndifuna ukuphatha le ndawo samcela singaba bahlali bale ndawo ungemandanga.
After assuming the role of a fake chief, Mareke imposed protection fee of 200 rands per household. It was reported that schools and their teachers renting properties in Mthatha were coerced into paying between 500 rands and 1,000 rands a month for the so-called protection fee. In some cases, car owners were allegedly forced to pay 1,500 rands under the guise of insurance. Now, surgeries were also extorted, and gangs demanded protection fee ranging from 20,000 rands for a small business, 50,000 rands for a medium-sized enterprise, and over 200k for a large-sized corporation. Now, all types of businesses were targeted. So during this reign of terror, Mareke and his gang wreaked havoc across the town. Now, those who opposed him remained silent, paralyzed by the fear of becoming victims themselves. In the village, a determined woman who was the head lady, or who is the head lady, refused to pay the 200 rands protection fee and urged her fellow villagers to do the same, arguing that King Dalingebo himself did not recognize this imposter Mareke. Soon after, she began receiving death threats, and a source close to the gang warned her of a plot to kill her. Fearing for her life, she sought refuge with her sister in Queenstown. Now, during her absence, her home was targeted by the gang. They set the house ablaze with her son, who was in grade 11 at the time, still inside. As he fled from the inferno, the gang tried to shoot him, but their poor marksmen allowed him to escape unharmed. Now, the house was badly damaged, serving as a brutal warning to anyone who dared to defy the gang. The situation escalated as the gang extended their extortion to schools, demanding payments from teachers as well. They disrupted a school for the deaf and the blind and stormed a high school, intimidating staff and students. The gang even demanded rental proceeds from a cell phone tower situated on the school grounds. Now, on the 13th of August, the group assaulted the school principal of Lapumikwezi Primary School in front of his staff and students as he refused to comply with the demands of the gang. Now, this violent incident led to teachers abandoning the school, fearing for their safety. Now, the school was closed for 5 days as the teachers reported the situation to the district's office. Mareke denied these allegations, telling the media that a woman named Noma Italy was behind the demands for the cell phone tower proceeds, not him. Now, despite his denial, the gang continued their reign of terror, with Mareke and his accomplices openly parading with rifles in the area. Now, they even confiscated keys to a local school wall in their quest for protection fees. King Dalingebo of Abatembu people denounced Mareke as a fraud and a criminal masquerading as a chief. He also criticized the people of Mthatha for being cowards and failing to stand up against an imposter who was forcing himself into their village leadership. Now, the king emphasized that recognition of royalty extends beyond mere community approval. It requires official endorsement from the government and sealed by a senior traditional leader. Now, all legitimate traditional leaders are on the state's payroll for their services and responsibilities, including their powers and functions. They receive a monthly stipend.
Ubangaba ninani zaphila ubomi babugwala bathembu sanundisa, otherwise kuphana ubugwala apha kunesihlisweni nicolela ufela. Peace must prevail here, and someone must die for peace to prevail. If I have to die, so let it be. And then Abulalwa zinkawe njengo Mareke. My life is just too precious. For Ubulawa zinkawan bensebenza noyise nomfana. Ingada nje yayizolo le. Bensebenza noyise, uyise wayengenje. Ngathi kanti ngumqaqwe kwakulayise. Yakubiza Mareke ngokwenjenje noba ukhona apha ngeempipi zakho yiza kumngqo kwedini zamane thethwa ngamakhwenkwe.
Mareke, an arrogant man with no respect for anyone, had infamously declared that he would be the chief of the village until the return of Jesus. When he saw the video of the king exposing him as a fraudulent chief involved in criminal activities, Mareke's fury erupted. He returned to his followers, enraged that they had allowed the king to slander him without defending his honor. Instead, standing by him, the villagers had clapped and agreed with the king's condemnation of him. In a fit of rage, Mareke ordered every household to contribute $100 to fund a lawsuit against the king for defamation and tarnishing his reputation. Those who failed to comply were harassed and violated. Mareke threatened to seek an interdict against the king to prevent him from meddling in the traditional affairs of Mandela Park and from making defamatory public statements accusing Mareke of orchestrating an extortion racket in Mthatha West.
Uthi uzophatha kuze kubuye bani uYesu ezophatha nyanzeni uYesu kubani ke yeva kubani Yesu nina uYesu uYesu kubani nina uYesu ngoba nina natheni enakhetha naye so nina nisithi hayi sibuyile ke ngomhlali sibuyile ngodala izolo sizokususa sithi hayi ke ngiyasukela ngokahle nje kuphela kungafiki umkathi yamsusa hayi asindawo asindawo bakaxolele ke asindawo.
As suspicions grew, police began monitoring Mareke as a potential suspect in the extortion ring. One day while driving with his henchmen, Mareke was stopped by police officers from the National Intervention Unit, the NIU, a task force specializing in combating extortion. Now, during this search of his vehicle, the officers discovered assault rifles. Although Mareke had permits for the weapons, the encounter only fueled his anger. He felt harassed and disrespected, believing that as a self-proclaimed chief, he deserved more respect from the police. Upon completing their operation, the officers returned to their unit in the embassy building in Mthatha. As they drove back, they noticed they were being followed by two vehicles, a Nissan Qashqai and a Toyota Fortuner. When the officers arrived in their unit, the two vehicles stopped behind them. An argument ensued, and then, according to reports, Mareke and his men drew their firearms and opened fire on the police. The police responded with deadly force, fatally wounding the three assailants. One officer, who was injured, was rushed to the hospital for an urgent treatment. Now, in the exchange of gunfire, Mareke and the other two suspects were killed on the spot. Mareke was 42 years of age at the time of his death. Mareke had been terrorizing the community. His death brings a measure of relief to those who suffered under his reign of terror. Shortly after the incident, some say it's the same police officer who got shot in the leg, but I can't confirm. Now the officer faced another deadly threat. A suspect arrived at the officer's home demanding protection money. The officer refused to pay and told the intruder that anyone with a problem should come see him directly. Now the confrontation escalated, and not long after that, the officer was shot at but narrowly escaping injury. Now the attacker was struck in the back and subsequently apprehended by the police. Now this brazen act of defiance underscores the staggering arrogance of these gangs who in some areas operate with unchecked impunity. On the 9th of September, Mthatha erupted in a massive protest as residents marched through the town. To also express their anger and frustrations, they rallied against the escalating crime wave, which included extortions, femicide, and stock theft. Now, community members demanded immediate intervention to address the deepening crisis and restore safety to their regions. One of the community leaders had disclosed that a local chief had allegedly received a letter from extortionists threatening him to step down so that the criminals could operate unchallenged and extort money from the community without any interference. While local gang members are predominantly reported as perpetrators of extortion, some reports reveal that immigrants as well, with ties with these gangs, have started targeting some businesses. In the Eastern Cape around 2016, there was a foreigner by the name of Master. Now he's like the king amongst foreign shop owners, like a franchise boss. Now any foreigner looking to open a shop in the area must first seek approval from him. Now those who refuse to pay are brutally dealt with by the gang's master recruits. Now Master is said to have close ties with some gangs around the area. Mthatha, a remote rural town, presents significant challenges for policing every secluded corner of these villages around this town. Now the police struggle with inadequate capacity and insufficient infrastructure to effectively cover the vast and dispersed areas. So in response to the escalating crisis, National Police Commissioner General Fanima Semola recently deployed additional resources to the Eastern Cape province to combat the surge in extortions and gang activity.
One, sebenzela abaprimi. Abaprimi are actually to Oscar Mabuyane. I can prove it in any court. Is a beneficiary to Mareka's stupid actions. The beneficiary.
Extortion has been escalating over time, reaching a point where it has enraged and deeply scarred communities, not just within the province of the Eastern Cape, but across the entire country.